There is a story told of a king whom the Almighty favored so greatly that he bestowed upon him the most magnificent gift humanity has ever known: unparalleled wisdom. That King Solomon not only possessed epical wisdom but also reigned over a glorious kingdom where gold, silver, and jewels were so abundant that silver was deemed worthless. His life was an epic symphony that began with a humble prayer and concluded with a desperate sigh recorded in the book of Ecclesiastes. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. How could a man so blessed, a beacon of enlightenment and prosperity, end his life in spiritual brokenness and profound regret? The story of Solomon is not merely the history of a king. It is a mirror reflecting our own human soul, a timeless lesson on the temptation of pride and the terrible pull of worldly desire. It touches the core of our greatest fear. Does the accumulation of everything the world craves truly lead to eternal satisfaction, or is it just a glittering golden trap? King Solomon began his reign with a divine promise. He was the son of David and Bathsheba, chosen to succeed the throne of Israel. This commencement was marked by a fateful moment at Gibeon, where God appeared in a dream and asked, "Ask what I shall give you." Faced with the opportunity to request anything, Solomon did not ask for long life, nor the destruction of his enemies, nor boundless wealth. Instead, he asked for something the entire universe had to listen to: "Grant me a discerning heart to govern your people, that I may distinguish between good and evil." This was the pinnacle of humility and sincere desire. That discerning heart, or the listening heart in the original phrasing, was the master key Solomon used to unlock the door to transcendent wisdom. God was supremely pleased and granted him unmatched intelligence. More importantly, he added wealth, fame, and longevity with a single condition: Solomon had to remain faithful to God's commandments, just as his father, David, had done. Solomon's wisdom was immediately put to the test. The case of the two women vying for a single living child was the first trial. The judgment to divide the baby was not merely a psychological trick, but a demonstration of the discerning power between good and evil that God had granted him. All Israel was amazed, realizing that the wisdom of God truly resided in their king. From that point on, Solomon's fame spread everywhere. It was said that his wisdom was as wide as the sand of the seashore, and he composed 3,000 proverbs and 1,000 songs on every topic, from nature and leadership to faith. This wisdom attracted the Queen of Sheba, a powerful queen from a distant land who crossed the desert solely to test his sagacity with the most challenging questions. She was compelled to exclaim that what she had heard was only half the truth. Solomon had reached the apex of human wisdom. Yet, Solomon's greatest achievement, a symbol of his initial devotion, was the construction of the temple in Jerusalem. This miraculous structure, built with Lebanon cedar and pure gold, took 7 years to complete and became the spiritual heart of Israel, the place of God's glorious presence. During the dedication of the temple, Solomon offered a profound prayer, acknowledging the unmatched greatness of God and asking him to listen to the supplications of his people. That was the moment he stood upon the Everest of faith. Solomon's reign marked the golden age of Israel. His kingdom became the epicenter of prosperity, attracting merchants, scholars, and rulers from across ancient civilizations. Scripture records that Solomon was wealthier and wiser than all other kings on earth. His wealth surpassed all measure. His annual gold income was 666 talents, equivalent to over 25 tons of pure gold. Silver was even considered worthless, not worth using for household items in the palace. His throne was made of ivory overlaid with pure gold, guarded by 12 lions. This extravagance was not an immediate sign of sin, but an absolute abundance brought about by divine grace. Yet, this abundance, if not consistently checked by humility, creates the most dangerous illusion. The delusion that one can control one's own destiny and no longer requires the guidance of the Almighty. Like a colossal ship at maximum speed, only a slight deviation in the rudder is needed to lead to an unforeseen catastrophe, and Solomon's deviation began with silent compromises. Solomon's power and influence necessitated political alliances with neighboring nations, and these alliances were sealed through marriage. This was the genesis of the tragedy. Scripture explicitly warned that a king should not take too many wives, for it would turn his heart away from God. Solomon, however, ignored that divine warning. He took 700 princesses as wives and 300 concubines. These marriages, deemed politically necessary, were a direct violation of God's command. Each foreign wife brought her own deity, and each palace became a center of pagan worship built right in the heart of holy Jerusalem. As Solomon aged, his wives led his heart astray from the God of Israel. That once discerning heart was split into 1,000 pieces by 1,000 worldly concerns. Like a mighty river, even the smallest diversion is enough to drain the mainstream. Solomon not only allowed his wives to worship idols, but he personally built the high places altars for Ashtaroth, the Sidonian, goddess of sexuality, and Molech, the Ammonite god of child sacrifice. The greatest irony is that the man who built the most glorious temple for the Most High went on to construct the most abominable shrines for foreign gods. The wisdom he had requested to distinguish good and evil was obscured by the desire to satisfy his loved ones and the craving to maintain political alliances. He traded absolute devotion for secular acceptance. This division of the heart was the root cause of his downfall. God, who had warned Solomon twice about the consequences of forsaking him, was angered. This wrath was not arbitrary punishment, but the natural reaction when a covenant promise is broken. God declared, "Since you have not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I commanded you, I will surely tear the kingdom away from you and give it to your servant." The judgment was fragmentation. The unified kingdom under David and Solomon would be torn into two pieces during the reign of his son, Rehoboam. This rupture was not just a political event. It was the shattering of Solomon's soul. It demonstrated the truth that grace is not unconditional. A tree rooted in holy ground, which allows foreign branches to suck all its nourishment, will eventually be cut down. This verdict serves as the sternest warning to anyone who believes that past wisdom or success can compensate for present unfaithfulness. King Solomon's final day was not a glorious festival, but a quiet, solitary afternoon where he confronted himself in the palace he had built with gold. His life was now a painful and profound reflection, chronicled in the book of Ecclesiastes. When he looked back at all he had accumulated, all the palaces, vineyards, treasures, and 1,000 wives, all that remained was a ghastly sense of void. In Ecclesiastes 2:11 he wrote, "Then I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and on the labor that I had labored to do, and behold, all was vanity and vexation of spirit, and there was no profit under the sun." Solomon, who lived and experienced everything the world could offer, concluded that every material pursuit, every sensual pleasure, every academic wisdom, if not anchored to God, was ultimately a chasing after the wind. He had used his unparalleled intelligence to decode every mystery of this world, but failed to decode the mystery of his own heart, which had been carried away by vanity. He learned too late that those who love money will never be satisfied with money, and those who love wealth will never be content with their income. That is the bottomless trap of desire. The metaphorical example of Solomon is the image of a man granted a perfect treasure map, but using that map to draw convoluted detours just to collect colorful stones along the way, forgetting the final destination. The very counsel he had once given in Proverbs, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding," was violated by his own actions. In his final moments, as the night of regret enveloped him, Solomon distilled all his bitter experience into a simple yet profound truth. His ultimate counsel, the summation of an entire life, is a healing manifesto for every lost soul. The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. This was the final bell tolling, affirming that no matter how far he had strayed, he still understood that true meaning lies only in devotion to the Creator. The story of Solomon is a profound warning and a source of healing inspiration for us today. We do not need to possess 666 talents of gold or 1,000 wives to fall into the trap of vanity. If we simply allow any desire, be it fame, career, or social acceptance, to usurp God's position in our heart, we are also building new high places for idols. Solomon's tragic ending teaches us that it does not matter how brilliantly you begin, but how you finish. Guard your heart from being divided, for it is the wellspring of life. Let the lesson from the wisest king remind us: the greatest asset is not what you accumulate, but the relationship you maintain with the Creator. Life truly gains meaning only when we fear Him and faithfully keep the covenant until our very last breath.